Imagine a small village on the banks of a quiet river, filled with farmers and herders, never dreaming that one day it would control lands stretching from Britain all the way to Egypt. That village was Rome, and its story is one of the most fascinating journeys in human history. From myths of twin brothers raised by a wolf, to mighty emperors ruling vast lands, to shocking collapse under pressure, the history of the Roman Empire is full of drama, surprises, and lessons we can still learn from today. So let's go back in time and explore the rise, the glory, and the fall of Rome in a way that feels less like a textbook and more like a story you can picture in your mind. According to legend, Rome began in 753 BC, founded by Romulus after he defeated his twin brother Remus in a bitter rivalry. Whether that's true or not, it shows us how Romans loved heroic tales to explain their beginnings. At first, Rome was ruled by kings, but around 509 BC the people overthrew their last king and created a republic. Now this wasn't a democracy like today's, but it was still revolutionary for the time. Imagine living in a world where you suddenly had senators and assemblies making decisions instead of one king giving orders. It gave Rome a sense of shared power, even though ordinary people had limited rights. The Roman Republic soon grew restless. Step by step, Rome conquered neighboring tribes and cities until all of Italy came under its rule. But Rome's true test came in the wars against Carthage, a powerful city in North Africa. These battles, known as the Punic Wars, were like blockbuster action films of the ancient world. Hannibal, a brilliant Carthaginian general, shocked everyone when he marched war elephants across snowy mountains to invade Italy. Just picture that massive elephants walking down icy slopes while terrified soldiers waited at the bottom. Rome struggled but never gave up. After years of fighting, Rome crushed Carthage and destroyed it so completely that, as the legend goes, they even salted the earth so nothing could grow there. Whether that detail is true or not, the message was clear. Rome was now the top power of the Mediterranean. But success brought new problems. The Republic became rich, but much of the wealth went to the elite. Regular farmers lost land to big estates, and poverty grew in the cities. Politics turned nasty, and powerful generals began using their armies to grab power. One of these men was Julius Caesar. He was popular with the people, brilliant in war, and dangerous to the old system. When he crossed the Rubicon River with his army, it was like saying, "I'm taking control." Civil war broke out, and Caesar won. He became dictator for life, which terrified senators who thought he would end the Republic forever. On the Ides of March, 44 BC, they stabbed him to death in the Senate. But instead of saving the Republic, Caesar's death destroyed it. Caesar's adopted son Octavian, later known as Augustus, rose to power after more bloody wars. By 27 BC, Augustus was emperor, and the Roman Empire was born. Augustus was smart. He didn't call himself king but first citizen, while secretly holding all the power. Under him, Rome entered the Pax Romana, or Roman peace, a golden age of stability that lasted around 200 years. Imagine a world where roads connected cities across continents, aqueducts brought clean water to towns, and massive arenas like the Colosseum entertained thousands with gladiator fights and wild animal hunts. For people living under Rome, it must have felt like the empire would last forever. But not every emperor was like Augustus. Some were remembered for cruelty, madness, or waste. Caligula was said to have declared his horse a consul. Nero is remembered for persecuting Christians and supposedly playing music while Rome burned, though historians argue about how true that story is. Yet even with bad emperors, Rome continued to expand, reaching Britain in the west and Mesopotamia in the east. Its armies, discipline, and engineering skills were unmatched. Still, cracks were forming. Rome had grown too big to manage easily. Defending such massive borders drained money and manpower. Corruption spread, and heavy taxes burdened the poor. At the same time, new enemies pressed against the frontiers. Germanic tribes like the Visigoths and Vandals pushed into Roman territory. In 410 AD, the impossible happened. The city of Rome was sacked by the Visigoths. Imagine the shock of hearing that the Eternal City, the center of the empire, had been captured. People must have wondered if the world itself was ending. The Western Roman Empire struggled on, but in 476 AD, its last emperor, Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by a Germanic leader. Historians mark this as the official end of the Western Roman Empire. But here's the twist: the Eastern Roman Empire, known as the Byzantine Empire, continued for almost 1,000 years more, with its capital at Constantinople. So in many ways, Rome didn't completely fall, it transformed. And Rome's influence never disappeared. Look around today. Our laws, our languages, our architecture, even our calendars owe something to the Romans. The idea of a Senate, the design of domes and arches, the spread of Latin words, they all show how the Roman Empire still shapes our lives. So when we talk about the fall of Rome, maybe we should ask, did it really fall, or did it just evolve into something new? Now let's have a little fun. If you were living in the Roman Empire, who would you want to be? A gladiator in the arena, fighting for glory? A senator, debating in the marble halls? A soldier, marching to the edges of the empire? Or maybe an engineer, building aqueducts and roads that would last for centuries? It's fascinating to imagine, and it makes us realize how connected we still are to people from thousands of years ago. The history of the Roman Empire isn't just about battles and emperors. It's about human ambition, power struggles, creativity, and resilience. It's about how ordinary people lived, loved, and dreamed in a world that feels both far away and surprisingly familiar. It's a reminder that no empire, no matter how mighty, lasts forever, but ideas and legacies can endure for ages. And that's why the story of Rome matters. It's not just old ruins and dusty scrolls. It's the story of us, of how human beings built something incredible, lost it, and passed its lessons down through time. If you enjoyed this journey through the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, I'd love for you to join our community here. Hit that like button, share your favorite Roman fact in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next trip through history. Together, we'll keep uncovering the timelines that shaped our world, and who knows, maybe one day, people will look back at our own time the way we look back at Rome.